You guys have been in this fight for a long time. That's how we know you. You've been at conferences for years. You've been shouting out. You've been on the radio. You've done. I mean, Kurt, you're a big player in this. And Kim, you Kim with the autism file, years and years of that, both of you. What are your frustrations with the fact that we've been doing this for so long and still kids are getting damaged?
Oh, wow. My frustration is primarily with the government and with the medical profession. And maybe that's because as a parent and having been so blind for so long and so trusting that I can understand the parent's aspect of, well, I'm going to listen to the doctor because I was there myself. I listened to the doctor. So in a way, maybe I can empathize with them and understand their cognitive dissonance because I was there as well. But when it comes down to the doctors and when it comes down to the government, they know what it is. They know this is going on, and they continue to lie and continue to poison our children. So I wouldn't even say it's frustration. I would say it's just blind-ass anger.
Supernatural's on.
It was later.
At 8.
At 8 o'clock.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock what?
We'll be done
Eating.
eating. Eat around 6.
Yes.
7 o'clock. Be done at 7.
Yes.
All right, Josh, how you doing?
Good.
Okay, people, first of all, you need to know we're in the middle of Missouri. Oh, and where are we in Missouri?
Northeast Missouri.
We're in Northeast Missouri, and the reception is not great here. This is we parked the bus somewhere, and this is the best reception we can get, so apologies in advance if I'm getting Trump forever already up. We're going to do the story first, and then we'll talk about the other issues, because you're going to want to hear from these people, and these are the people that I've been telling you about a long time. They're long-time friends of John and the Tommy family, and the Lindemans go back a long way.
We're having dinner at
Home.
And this is the beautiful
what we're
Caden.
having for
And
dinner.
some of you may
Turkey
remember
and
Caden.
noodles.
He's in VAX, doing pretty much what he's doing now, playing with the cards. All right, let's tell everyone who you are. So, you are.
I'm Kurt Linderman.
I'm Kim Linderman.
And this is?
Caden Linderman.
And how old is Caden?
How old are you?
9, 15.
You'll be 15 next month.
All right. So, we're going to talk about what happened to Caden first. So, let's go back to before he was injured.
Okay, Caden was a preemie. He was born at 36 weeks. I was on bed rest pretty much my entire pregnancy. Had mag sulfate and endomycin to keep him from coming early. I am B negative, so I got the Rogam vaccine while I was pregnant and after I gave birth to him. We lived in a house that was full of toxic mold that we didn't know about, so he got brought home to a toxic mold house.
What was both of your views on vaccines?
You just take him to the doctor and you get the shots the way the doctor tells you to get the shots.
Yeah, I mean, it was just...
It was like a no-brainer.
I think if I'd have heard a parent say, are you going to vaccinate? I would have looked at him like, what are you, nuts? Of course I'm going to vaccinate. I mean, it was just ingrained in us. We've been inculcated to believe that for so long that it was just a natural, it was good parenting.
And I researched the crib, I researched the car seat, all those things that you do as a parent, but I never once thought about researching the vaccines.
Electricity.
Not once. So I brought him home. He got the Hep B at birth. And then at 1 month, he got 2 more vaccines. And then he started getting ear infections. And he would have an ear infection every month. For his first 2 years of life, he had an ear infection every month and had 3 antibiotics for every ear infection. Until they finally said, so he got behind on his vaccines. Because he was sick every time he went to the doctor, so they didn't give him his shots. Finally got tubes in his ears. We moved out of the mold house.
Did at that point you see any of the autism-like symptoms or anything at all when he was a baby?
Absolutely not.
Oh,
He
no.
was developing normally. Other than the ear infections, he was developing normally.
Talking.
Talking. He had
Yeah.
20, 30 words. starting to walk, all of that. Everything fine. Normal stools, everything.
So
So
what age was he when he went for catch-up?
20 months.
So 20 months is when the damage was.
Well, the doctor told me he's so far behind. We have to keep him healthy. So for 3 months, nobody can come to your house. You can't take him anywhere. We've got to keep him healthy so he can get caught up on his vaccines because he's way behind. So we took him in, and our daughter was also behind because she had ear infections as well. So I held Caden and Kurt held Cassidy, and he got 6 shots, 9 vaccines at once.
Do you know the shots that he got?
And he got the MMR, the DTAP, which is 6. If you add them up, that's 6.
Do you know that we looked at the insert of the MMR and it's not supposed to be, it's not, Merck will say on the insert of the MMR that it should not be given with the DTaP.
Right, and he was also given the chickenpox vaccine at the same time, which you're not supposed to do either. And Hib, he got Hib and Prevnar all at once.
Okay.
Cassidy got the
That's
same
a lethal
ones.
cocktail.
Cassidy got the same ones except for the chickenpox vaccine. Now she has, she had bowel issues after that and an oversized colon. But other than that, she's not affected. At least not as affected as he is. I mean, she has, some gastro issues, but she didn't end up being diagnosed with autism. I brought him home that night, the fever, the arching of the back, the screaming, and then started the exploding diarrhea that didn't quit for 3.5 years.
So when you went back to the doctor and said, we have a massive problem here, what did the doctor say?
I called the next day and I said, he's got a fever of 104. The exploding diarrhea was to the point you could be outside of the house and hear it. It was that brutal. And you had to take it we had to take it out of the house and put it in a trash can on our porch because we couldn't stand the smell. It was green. It was awful.
Holly and Bella are staying at a hotel.
Oh,
Holly and Bella are
Yes.
Thursday night.
That's tonight.
we love you, Caden.
Friday Bear
Friday they have to go to St. Louis.
to get.
Well, they're going to St. Louis to talk to people, and then they're going home to Austin. Yes.
But airport.
No, they're not going to the airport. They're driving the Vax bus back to Austin. Yes.
They're staying at a hotel in
Hannibal.
downtown.
No, not downtown. One on the highway.
He's a wonderful boy. I love that boy so much.
So I called the doctor and they put me off. Call the doctor and they put me off. Call the doctor and they put me off. I finally took him in and I said, this is not the same boy I brought into you. He doesn't look at me anymore. He stopped crawling. He stopped trying to walk. He doesn't talk. He's got these exploding stools. And she said, well, maybe we need to get his hearing checked. And these things just went on and on and on.
Because that has everything to do with exploding diarrhea,
Right.
right?
So
when you look back at all these things, that's why it's so hard to tell our stories because I can't believe we bought it all.
I know.
I know. It's desperation, I think. I really do. We looked at the doctor as an expert when we went in to get the shots, and it just blows my mind that after they damaged my child, I still looked at the doctors like, help me.
And that's what it was. That's what we said. And I said to him, and the only person that would give me an answer was the speech therapist who finally got assigned to him and a developmental therapist. And the speech therapist wouldn't tell me. She wouldn't say it out loud. Neither one of them would say he has autism. She just slid me a piece of paper that had a phone number on it, a name and a phone number, and looked at me and said, call this woman tomorrow. So I called her and went to her house, and here's her son who's sitting in a chair watching Thomas the Tank, and she said, this is what's wrong with your son. This is what happened to your son. And this is where you need to go to get help.
Yep.
There wasn't a doctor who told me.
Have you had any help from the medical profession at all? I have to ask stupid questions, guys. Okay.
No.
It's part of it.
I'm just laughing because just the thought of help from these doctors is just a ridiculous
Well,
statement.
Now, I can say that the doctor who gave him the vaccines saw what happened to him. She knew who he was before.
Yeah.
She saw what happened to him after, and she educated herself and quit vaccinating her own children.
But she didn't accept any responsibility
No,
for what she's
absolutely not.
Well, the government makes it pretty damn easy for the doctors not to accept any responsibility. In fact, they go out of their way to make sure it's all on the parents.
done. And that's one thing we did not know when we took our children in, that if anything, first of all, we didn't think anything would go wrong, but if anything did go wrong, no one's responsible for it.
Oh.
Well, you know, think about it. If I was if I was in the 1960s and I walked into a car dealership and they said, "Hey, we got this cool Corvair. Gas tank always explodes and we're not going to be responsible, but will you buy it?" I'd have told them to take a flight. You know? And if they'd have told me straight off the bat, "Hey, these vaccines, if they hurt your child, we're not responsible, and neither is the maker of the vaccines." If they'd have just told me that, I'd have walked right out of that office.
Yeah, they don't give you the paper of the side effects till after they give them the shots.
We're lucky you got even that.
Yeah, I
in the
don't
first
even,
place.
yeah. And, well, they didn't even tell me that they gave him the Hep B at birth. They didn't tell me that.
So, what has the implications of him being vaccinated that day meant for Caden? What's happened to his life?
Isolation, primarily. He's got no friends. I mean, people love him. He's such a lovable kid, and he goes to school, and he goes to a regular school. He's got a one-on-one aide, and every
And he's
time-
on honor roll.
Yeah.
But what quality of life do you have when this is what he does all day? He doesn't have sleepovers. He doesn't go to parties.
He's not playing sports.
He's never going to be able to drive, have a girlfriend, get married. And not to mention what it's done to our family. I mean, not like his sisters. You know, it was really hard for them to have friends over. And to make friends, let alone have friends over. And then explaining to boyfriends and, you know, when we go out to eat and he's loud. I mean, they're older now, but it used to embarrass them.
What's the future for Caden?
That's it.
What are you going to do? Where's he going to go when you guys are not around? Tough
We need to
question.
build a trust in Missouri.
We're coming. We're coming.
But, you know, the thing about that is, it's such a contentious subject when you're talking about vaccine injury, and it's hard for me to just talk about autism. It's hard for me to just say, "Hey, government or benefactors or whatever, will you give money to build a trust? And I promise we'll never talk about the vaccines. I promise we'll never talk about the contentious issues, the controversy or the conspiracy. But give us your money so we can house all these kids that you're screwing up." You know, it's really hard for me to differentiate or to draw that line. And so I don't know how hard it's going to be for somebody like us to build a trust, because I can't just shut up for the sake of not, you know, not putting ripples in the water.
But you shouldn't need to. You should be able to.
We
say
shouldn't
that.
have to, but then what you have is you have those people with the money say, "Oh, Kurt, I don't want to be affiliated with this project because you're making waves." You know what I mean? So that's kind of scary.
And how many people aren't going to take their kids to get vaccinated because they talk to you? You know, how many years? And how many people have we talked to? And their doctors, they don't learn about this in medical school. There's how much time spent in medical school over vaccines.
About as much as food.
They look at it, well, if you get this vaccine, you can't, you know, drink grapefruit juice or whatever it is. It's the drug companies and, you know, the pharmaceutical reps.
Or if you get
and-
this vaccine, don't breastfeed.
Right.
How ridiculous is that?
They-
So-
and they don't want to learn. Some of them want to learn, but then they're afraid. I don't know. It just makes me angry when healthcare professionals see what happens, because these doctors, they give the vaccines, they take care of the babies before they're injured, and then after they have to see it. They have to see it. And what, they can't go to bed at night and say, "I did that to that child"?
But also, we know it's money. I mean, if they, the reason why they're throwing all these people like us out of the paediatrician's office is because we're damaging their bonuses.
But how can you look at yourself in the mirror in the morning, every morning, knowing what you've done?
I'd rather flip burgers and lose my medical license than continue to poison little babies. I mean, it's just Hitlerian.
Well, it's actually more than poison. It's actually murder.
Yeah.
Right.
Kids are
Exactly.
dying, babies are dying, and it's murdering the brains. I mean, Caden should be, as you said, with friends, causing riot.
I
He
should
should be
watch-
getting ready to get his permit to start driving.
Yeah.
He, maybe have a girlfriend.
He's a couple of weeks away from where he could get his driver's permit to learn how to drive, and he's playing with cards in a bowl. And it was the vaccines, and I defy anybody to debate me on that issue.
Caden,
Caden,
hi, we love you.
We love you.
Yeah, we love you.
can you wave at
And
him?
Billy misses you.
Hi. Barely misses you.
He does miss you. Everybody loves
Do
you.
you miss Billy?
Yeah.
Who's your friend that you remember from England?
Billy.
No, from
Allie.
Ali Edwards.
I'll bet you she's watching right now.
Caden, hi.
Hi.
Caden, we're going to
Hi.
go to sleep now. We just want you to know that we love you.
We love you.
No, we really love you.
We really love you. Polly's gonna stay in a hotel.
Don't worry, I won't stay here. I will stay in a hotel, I promise. I love this boy so much. But people, just remember this before we all go to bed. It is not okay what has happened to Caden. It's not okay what's happened to Billy. It's not okay what happened to your child. And that's why we continue to fight. Right, good night everyone. Love you guys. Caden, say good night.
Good night.
Good night.